What's up, everybody? On today's video, we're going to be interviewing Katie, talking about living in a trailer park in Florida and how we met, a lot of stories from when we were younger. So, Katie, how did you end up in a trailer to begin with?
Well, this goes back to my dad. My dad decided that he didn't want me to move to Michigan, so he had a business partner who owned a trailer. So my dad had a good deal, so he decided that he was gonna buy this trailer for me to live
In Naples.
in Naples while I went to college, which I didn't finish the semester.
So your dad paid for you to go to college,
Yeah,
and you dropped out of college.
yeah.
Okay, so you literally had somebody pay for you to go to college.
The
Your-
first
your
semester,
dad,
yeah,
Okay, your dad bought you a house,
yeah,
bought you a car,
yeah,
and paid for your first semester in college.
yeah.
And you decided to be a trailer park superstar in the meantime and abandoned going to college.
I was gonna be a wife.
Basically, you had no intentions of actually, like, your dad set you up for
When I started, I was fully committed to going to college. I was excited about going to college.
just like you were about being a realtor.
Sure.
So you, so your dad buys this trailer for you with all the best intentions.
Mhm.
Now, this trailer was off of US 41. What was it like to move into this trailer?
Well, I moved in and immediately you met the neighbors. Yeah. Um, I remember before I had even moved in, I was starting to, get the house ready and whatnot because I wasn't allowed to move in because I was born in July. So it was after I had graduated. So my parents were like, until you actually turn 18, you're not moving out. So I was getting things ready, and I remember pulling up to the house in my car, and there was a vehicle parked in the driveway. Not just in the driveway. They pulled up to the house. Literally to the house. So I call my parents. I'm like, there's some guy with this like Ford Bronco type thing. Old ratty Ford Bronco. Yeah.
Was it the neighbors on the it was them?
Yeah.
Not surprised. So before you moved into this house, your neighbors were already squatting your driveway.
Yeah.
Now, you had a family member that went with you to help move you in.
Yeah.
You're not gonna say who he was, but it was one of your
The
family.
night before, because I think I was going to be 18 on a Monday. So this was Sunday night. My parents said, okay, you can move in the night before. Um,
So your parents had so much trouble with you.
oh, yeah.
They were really just trying to kick you out the door when you turned 18. Like the day you turned 18, you had to leave.
Not
White
necessarily.
people are brutal.
I wanted to be out. They didn't care. I mean, I probably could have stayed until almost school time, but I was like, I wanted out.
So let me just get this understood. Your parents bought you it wasn't a house, it was a trailer, but it was still in Naples.
Yeah.
I mean, they bought you a property and a car and set you up pretty good so you could just live your life as an adult. But what transgressed was actually poverty and misery. And some
Yeah.
of the stories we're going to get into on today's video are about cats, possums, raccoons. I mean,
Yeah.
well, you had a family member, and what did your family member tell your parents about this neighborhood?
Okay, so there was a family dinner, and it was Okay, so the whole family came to come see my new house. Everybody came to the house except this one person. This one person decided that they were going to take a ride down the whole street. And they took my dad aside and said, she shouldn't be living here.
This neighborhood,
She
yeah.
shouldn't be living here.
Now, 2007 we're talking, right?
2008.
Well, 2007 was a recession. It
Yeah.
should have been 2007.
No, it was 2008.
2008.
Mm-hmm.
So 2008, we're talking people are picking up, what type of things are happening in this neighborhood? There's people collecting scrap metal. There's, you're in a recession practically.
Yeah.
Now when he bought that trailer, prices hadn't tanked yet.
Yeah.
So like, it wasn't clear that things were gonna go to.
Like it was probably worth 100 at the time, or right around that area,
Yeah.
and then it dropped in the value until like 40.
It went to like 40, 30, it probably went down to 40,000. Now, in this neighborhood, there's people from you're probably like the only white person that's living in this neighborhood like full time, other than like a
Yeah.
few rednecks and stuff that have been there forever. So it's mostly like rednecks, Cubans, Haitians, Dominicans, Hondurans. Like, this is literally the hood. Unbeknownst to your
Yeah.
dad who bought this property, I don't think your dad understood how bad this neighborhood he had moved you into was. So let's get into how you met the person that introduced us.
Okay, so I was still when I was kind of moving in within like a few days. My mom and I were moving a few things in, and the neighbor comes over from across the way.
Yeah.
And then she proceeds to tell me that she has a niece around my age, and we would get along just fine.
They're pretty nosy, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so this neighbor comes and says you should meet her niece.
Yes.
Okay. Which we should thank them actually, because hadn't
Yeah.
she done that, we wouldn't be together. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So the hilarity of this is a few days later, she brings the niece over.
Also big like you.
Yeah. She and I get to chatting and whatnot, and we decide that we're going to walk to the gas station.
Okay. So this is where the ball gets rolling on things that shape the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you meet this Cuban girl that's also about your size, and you and her are walking to the
We're
gas
not done yet. We're
Right.
walking to the gas station. She falls. And someone who's driving by stops their car to laugh at her falling.
Yeah. Who is one of my family members.
Yeah. And, they felt bad. They took somebody home and then picked us up at the gas station so the person didn't have to walk back.
So now you are in this person's car,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Yeah.
drops you off.
No, he came and hung out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that same day, that same person
Yeah.
calls me and says, "Hey, I met a white girl
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
moved into the hood."
Yeah.
Now, that was like my ticket out of jail.
He brought you over a few days later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're hanging out with like people in the neighborhood right off the bat.
Yeah.
Which is like the number one thing you're not supposed to do. By the way, if you move into the hood, is start making relationships with the neighbors on day one.
I will say this, the day I met you, I knew if you didn't marry me, you would have married a white girl, and your family hadn't figured that out yet.
Yeah. So you move into the hood, you start meeting people off the bat. Those people introduce you to me. Now,
Yeah.
before you had a peeping situation
Yeah.
with a neighbor. So you were being harassed by one of your neighbors. We're just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
let's call this neighbor, I don't know, subject one.
Yeah.
So subject one is harassing you.
And it wasn't just subject to one, there was a subject two as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it was mostly, I mean, what were they doing?
They were like trying to peek in the windows and,
Wow.
you know.
So this person is literally peeping through the windows at night,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he was fascinated by a white woman. So when you met me, I mean, break the story down. I mean, go from there.
Okay, so, you know, we met and kids are hanging out all. You had to be there all night because.
Okay, backtrack.
Yeah.
So I finally meet you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're hanging out. It was me and a bunch of neighborhood thugs and people, just random people from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we're all hanging out at this new white girl's house in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you've been having trouble with one of the neighbors.
Yeah.
So we decided to stage my friends leaving.
Yeah.
So we staged that all the cars that were there left,
Yep.
but I stayed behind. So we were going to stage that you were home alone
Yeah.
so that we could catch the person that was doing this.
Yep.
Now, do you know what happened? Me and Katie were kind of already hooked up. So the day I met you,
I asked him 2 questions, and we're not gonna get into like that.
okay,
Okay, so I asked him 2 questions, and when he answered those 2 questions, I was like, "This is my man." He asked me to be his girlfriend, and that was it.
gotcha. So we hook up the day we meet.
Mhm.
Now, we weren't really trying to kick it off on day one, but
No.
you were being harassed by somebody.
Yeah.
And
And we ended up like talking all night long.
all right, so let's
Yeah.
talk about how.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should be the one telling this part of the story, but go ahead. You know what happened when we got a phone call.
Oh, yeah. We got the phone call because we had staged people outside
To watch over the house.
to watch over the house from far away. And,
They told us the person's by the window.
yep. My friend was still in the house. This is the part you don't know.
Okay.
So, you get the call.
This is the day we met 15 years ago.
He runs out of the house.
Who's he?
Jose.
Me.
Jose runs out of the house
With a machete.
with a machete to go confront them. Because they were like throwing soap at the windows and
They
yeah.
were just peeking through the windows.
Yeah, they were throwing things at the window. You don't remember?
Yeah. Well, anyways, they're harassing you.
Yeah.
They were harassing you.
Yeah.
So, what happened did something happen when I was outside?
She proceeds to tell me that you're not mentally there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
She said I was crazy.
Yeah. This is 16 years ago. So,
Wow.
yeah.
The day we met.
Yep.
So, basically, you were living in the hood. You're meeting all these people, but you're also being harassed.
Yeah.
Off the whip, you're getting harassed. We talk a little bit, and then we staged. The day we met you, we staged catching the person that was bothering you.
Yeah.
Because they were doing it every night to bother you.
Yes.
Now, they call us. I run outside with the machete. Now, do you know what happened outside?
I don't know what happened outside. I heard some yelling, but
Okay, so the person that was doing this, I'm not going to say what nationality they are, but they were from another country,
yeah.
and they were very athletic because they had just arrived in the United States, and they were very athletic. And I literally did swing the machete at him 3 times to hit him, but he was just so athletic that I wasn't able to hit him. So I literally did try to hit him with the machete. I mean, do you realize that I literally attacked him with a machete? Do you know that part?
Yeah.
So he got away because of how, you know, how muscular and how
Yeah.
skinny he is.
Mhm.
And he wiggled his way out of it, but he was terrified. I mean,
Yeah.
he grew up in a very rough country. He didn't
Yeah.
come from, you know, he's from a rough country. He was terrified because I literally swung the machete 3 times straight up to hit him.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't playing around. I was going to hit him with the machete. And he pleaded for his life.
Yeah.
And he promised me that he would never step foot on that property again. Did he ever step foot on that property again? Never.
Like if he even saw the property, he would run away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally did try to get him with a machete.
Yeah.
And interesting, I mean, it was complete self-defense. I mean, somebody's peeping through your window
Yeah.
and bothering a white woman. I'm pretty sure that's like a death sentence in
Yeah.
Florida. So, after I defend you, do you remember how the rest of the night went?
We kind of just stayed and hung
You
out.
asked me
Yeah. I asked you to stay because
you were scared.
I was just like, what the heck just happened? Yeah.
So, you were scared of whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, like he ended up leaving at like 7 a.m. or something.
So, the night we
Yeah.
met, I stayed over at your place
Yes.
because you told me you were scared.
Yeah. I couldn't explain what had just happened to my parents without me having to leave.
Yeah, if your
Yeah.
parents knew there was a machete fight on day 3, was it day 3 of the there?
I was day 10.
Day 10.
Yeah.
Day 10 of being at the new house, somebody is getting chased outside with a machete.
Yeah.
Okay. He never gave us any more trouble. He
No.
really didn't. But then again, after you chase somebody down with a machete and try
Yeah.
to whack them 3 times, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You're not playing around. They pretty much got the message of that.
Yup.
Okay, so I move in with you from the day we meet.
Yeah.
It's your interview. Go for it.
Well, Jose was living there, and I knew I was gonna marry him. He just didn't know it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was good. I was trying to get to that courthouse. Eventually, it took about 11 months, but we got there.
Shotgun wedding.
Yeah.
So you're gonna fast forward just to that.
There was a lot of stuff that happened in between that.
Okay, so
We ended up having 2 tenants in that space of 11 months.
before we got married,
Yeah.
but your dad was like, "Okay, y'all gotta start paying rent."
And we're like, what with what money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember what car I had when I met you?
You had a red Mercedes Benz.
Mm-hmm. Want to break down the details about it?
Okay, so he had this red Mercedes Benz. And the first date we had, you took me to the hospital. Into
Because
Chili's.
My dad was,
In the hospital.
and we thought my dad was going to die.
Yeah. Here we are, 16 years later, he's still alive.
Yeah, but we really thought my dad was
Yeah.
going to die.
Hmm.
So even though I had just met you,
You took me to the hospital to meet your dad.
just in case,
Yeah.
you know,
Can I get into what he said?
you go ahead. I mean, you realize. Okay, go ahead.
He's like, why did you bring this white woman to my hospital room?
Oh, did you bring a white woman here?
Yeah.
That's really what he said.
Along the lines of that, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's more in the back room. I was going through some stuff on my end, I mean, my mom had died.
Yeah.
My dad was in the hospital. We thought he was gonna die.
Yeah.
So I kind of had always understood that I needed to find a place too. So
You had met my parents like within like 2 or 3 days of meeting me.
so we meet each other, and everything was okay. So this is what's interesting about how we met. Just I don't know if it's relevant or not, but you met my dad right off the bat.
Yeah, like we
I
met
met
on
your
a
parents.
Thursday, and we were by the weekend we were meeting parents.
Okay, now, so we moved. I mean, most people when they meet somebody else, they don't really make those moves that fast.
Well,
I think we were really serious and committed from the start.
I knew that first day that I was going to marry you, and anything else was inconsequential, in my opinion.
Yeah, you told me that, and I was like, "This woman is nuts." You told me the day we met.
Yep.
You were like, you started going through a series of pretty serious questions.
Yep.
So I feel like most people, when they meet, they try to hide who they really are, or they try to leave, skeletons in the closet. I think
I told you everything from the get-go.
yeah, and I did too.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to hold back on some stuff because, we were growing up in a neighborhood. I mean, you saw the kids that I was hanging around with the kids in the neighborhood, and
Yeah.
I wasn't the little dog in the neighborhood. I mean, I was pretty much involved heavily in everything.
Mhm.
So it wasn't really.
I
You
didn't
told
care.
me, okay, so let's not, without getting into details. So
Yeah.
you told me what you needed from. Okay, so you had your requirements. Among your requirements, you told me that I had to cut off a lot of the illegal activities that I was doing.
You had to cut off everything.
And I had requirements for you too, which we're not going to get into. But
Yeah.
basically, from the time we met, I made some requirements for you, and you made some requirements for me.
Yep.
So anything else you want to say about that aspect of what you want? We're not even in the details of what those things were, but clearly you had expectations for me,
Yes.
and I had expectations for you. We don't have to get into, we're not going to get into what those things were.
Yeah.
Because that's private. But we both needed to make adjustments to be candidates for the other person.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our first date. You said we went to the hospital.
We went to the hospital in Chili's, and we also went to the pier.
Went to the Naples Pier.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm a romantic. I took you to the pier on our first date.
Yes.
I don't even remember that. I know I took you to Chili's.
Yeah, because we were right near the hospital, and the hospital is not far from the pier.
So our first date was that we went to the Naples Pier.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's gone now. Hurricane Ian destroyed it.
Yeah, the Chili's is gone too.
Chili's is taqueria now.
Yeah.
So do you remember what I did in the Chili's parking lot?
You did burnouts,
So this is our first day
and you're doing burnouts,
to impress you.
which I was not impressed.
You were actually terrified, if I remember.
Yeah, I had a panic attack.
You were just scared.
Yeah,
Because-
both our first and our second date, I
Were
had panic
terrifying.
attacks. Yeah.
Our first dates were really scary. So the first date we went on, I decided to do donuts in the parking lot to impress you with
Yeah.
my German engineering. You were not thrilled.
No.
And also, I had a really crappy dating policy back then. You remember what it was? Remember I had gone through a bunch of hood rats?
Yeah.
So I had some. Do you remember what my trash? I mean, my I don't even know how to refer to this. Do you remember my crappy dating policies? What they were?
Yeah, you tried to get me to pay my bill.
Yeah. Because I had gone through
Yeah.
several hood rats.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of girls that wanted to date me
Mhm.
because I had a nice car.
Yeah.
I was kind of for being from the hood, I was doing.
I wasn't impressed by that. And I
Right.
think you knew that.
Well, I wasn't gonna take chances, Katie.
Yeah.
So I had gone through like a bunch of hood rats that were just gold diggers. They wanted to be with me either because of my neighborhood status, which was pretty impressive for being in Naples. They
Okay.
either wanted to date me because of my neighborhood status, or they wanted to date me because they were hood rats and they were just trying to get free stuff.
You didn't have anything.
For being in that
Yeah,
neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like I had a lot,
You had some.
but I had some, and in that
Yeah.
neighborhood, it was some. So I had gone through like, I had dated 4 or 5 girls,
Mm-hmm.
and they were only with me because either my street credibility or they were just trying to get free stuff out of me.
Yeah.
So you remember how stingy I was? Let me break that down.
Like, you tried to go to Hungry Howie's for everything, and that should have been a prelude to like the first 7 years of our marriage.
Okay, but I mean, it didn't run that long. I mean, like,
Yeah.
our first dates, I did tell you that I wasn't paying for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty tough.
Yeah.
You start dating a guy and he's like, by the way, I'm not paying for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of.
I was like, I was like a little off put, but I knew that I was gonna marry you. So, and eventually I wore you down. So,
Yeah. But no, I wanted to know that I wanted to know that you weren't like the other hood rats that were just trying to get with me for money or for dates. I used to do a lot of stuff. I used to go to hotels and travel from city to city, stuff that would impress impressionable girls, you know. So,
Okay.
girls would have wanted to, you know what I'm saying? So like, I got tired of dealing with girls that were just not interested, you could say.
yeah.
So I wasn't gonna spoil you at first.
Yeah.
And I didn't for the first 6 months. Okay, so that was our first date. I went to Chili's and I made you pay for your meal.
I think you did the first time, and then like when we started going to Applebee's, you made me pay my own way. Yeah.
So I know that was kind of weird, but I did do that to you.
Yeah.
I did make you pay for your own way, and you've been charging me over the years, so I think we're pretty much even now.
Hmm.
Okay, so our second date. Now keep in mind, the house next door is a
After
trap house.
after the second date, I will say that like any like qualms like with anything, you just started paying for everything. Literally after the second date, you kind of were like,
Well, things
yeah.
with us,
Yeah.
things got complicated pretty quick. I think it
Yeah.
was actually after my appendix that I opened up completely to you.
that's when I think you realized you were gonna marry me.
Yes. But that was 6 months into that whole thing.
Yeah.
So backtrack a little. Let's break down our second date.
Okay, our second date, he comes and picks me up in the car, and we pull onto US 41, and you have to do a U-turn to go into Naples. Well, we get pulled over on the U-turn by police officers, undercover police officers. And before they had even pulled us over, they start jumping up and down like, we got him, we got him. And they pull us out of the car. Here I am crying, and I give them my driver's license. They pull him out of the car. I think they left me. I was having like a panic attack. They had left me, and I'm like giving them my driver's license. The minute they saw my driver's license, they knew they messed up.
Yeah, but the reason they pulled you over is because they were doing an undercover investigation on the house next door, which was a trap house.
Yes.
Now, elaborate on what my vehicle. Be detailed about what my vehicle looked like and why they thought they had. They thought they had grabbed the big fish. What?
It was before you had the rims. I will say that.
That car was still pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a Benz from the '90s. Beautiful candy paint, just real nice. And they pull you out. They just open the car door and pull you out.
They threw us on the sidewalk.
They left me in the passenger
They
seat
threw me on the sidewalk.
because I was having a panic attack. Like, I was literally in the midst of a panic attack, like, what the heck? They look at my driver's license, and that's when they told
But
you.
before they looked at your driver's license,
Yeah. hmm
they brought in a canine and they destroyed the interior of the car.
Yeah.
They tore apart the whole
I
car.
don't remember too much about it because I was literally having a panic attack, and what they proceeded to do after that was like the most irresponsible thing that you could do if you are a police officer. You don't have someone who is clearly having a panic attack drive home.
Well, why did you have to drive home? Because I
Had a permit.
thought I had forgot my wallet.
No, you had a permit, and
So wait, I wasn't even. How could I have had a permit? If
you
I
had a
bought-
learner's permit.
How could I have a learner's permit? I bought the car under my name.
The-
I was driving around cars before I had a license.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I think we can talk about. That I made you do. I made it. He's like, oh my, they won't give me a drive. Like, I have to do a vision test. I was like, go get some dang contacts and go take care of it.
Okay, so I thought it was because I had forgot my wallet.
No, you
The
had
re-
your wallet.
They made. So this is our second day.
hmm
We get pulled over by the cops. They're
Yeah.
running an undercover investigation. They thought that I was delivering at the house next door.
Yeah. I don't remember a lot of details because I was having a really bad panic attack, and to the point where I wasn't coherent.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they threw me on the ground. They searched the vehicle. They bring in the canine, and they realize that there's nothing illegal in the car.
Mhm.
Then they look at your driver's license, which has the address next door
Yeah.
to the house they were surveilling. So then they realized that
Yeah.
they messed up.
Mhm.
Now, every single time that I had dealt with these cops,
Mhm.
it was nothing but disrespect.
Yeah.
What was the difference in between how, like, you have never had a problem with law enforcement.
No.
What did you realize with that experience about how law enforcement treats people? What your experiences have been in the past with law enforcement from now you live in the hood next to a trap house?
My experiences with law enforcement had been pleasant. I mean, I had like a few little things.
Oh, let's not mention.
Yeah.
Let's not forget to mention. No, they searched our vehicle with no warrant.
Mhm.
They did not ask for permission to search the vehicle.
They just did it.
They had no warrants. They
Mhm.
didn't ask us to search the vehicle. They simply grabbed us, threw me on the ground, and proceeded to have a canine
Mhm.
go through my vehicle with absolutely no cause. When they saw that the address on your license was the house next door, they realized that they had messed up.
Yeah.
And then they realized that here's a white woman now whose parents are, I don't know, maybe lawyers or bankers, and your grandparents might live in a gated community in Naples. And they realized that we literally just searched a white person.
Yeah.
So what did they have you do?
They told me because I had a valid driver's license that I had to drive the vehicle
And you
home.
were in no shape to drive.
I
You were
was in no
scared,
shape.
And you were terrified because you had never experienced law enforcement
Mhm.
treat you like that.
And honestly, even though he had a permit, it was literally very quick to my house. Like, they could have
A
just
walk
said
away.
that with how bad that panic attack was, I crashed the car on the way home.
You on our second date, you crashed my car.
Yeah.
Yeah. You drove over a culvert and you were just
Yeah.
terrified. That was our second date.
You weren't even mad.
No,
Like,
it wasn't your fault. It was them.
like I'm having a panic attack just talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so this is what a lot of the people don't understand, that when you are living in these types of neighborhoods, you have no rights. The police feel like they can do whatever they want to you.
Yeah.
Now, from that day on, something did change with those cops.
Yeah. I would see them a lot.
Because that cop, remember one time he pulled us over? Remember what happened when he pulled us over?
He saw who it was in the car and then he walked away.
Walked off.
And I have seen him at a certain
We see him
place.
around. Yeah.
We see him
So
around.
this cop,
He still can't face us
he
years
won't even look
later.
us in the face yet.
Mhm.
Because he knows that what he did was wrong. I mean, they literally, just because you're in this neighborhood,
Yeah.
they felt that they could just strip away all your rights, throw you on the ground, search you without any type of anything.
I remember years when we were struggling and like we would have older vehicles, and I remember one year you'd come home every day saying you got pulled over.
Yeah, I got pulled over 56 times in 1 year. It was non-stop police profiling. And did they ever arrest me?
Never. I think you maybe got like 1 or 2 tickets in the whole time.
Yeah, they would pull you over. It was literally in Naples, when we were living in Naples, we were getting pulled over.
2 years ago, we went home to go. We went to go see his dad, and we got pulled over again.
2022.
2022.
We were just, now figure this, we've driven 200,000 miles across America, right?
The only place we get pulled over
It's Naples.
is Naples.
In that neighborhood.
Yes.
It's incredible how much police profiling they do. And Collier County, they have a real problem with police profiling. It's not who does the crime, it's who they don't want there.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they have a grudge against me because they were never able to actually pin anything on me. And there's stuff before I met you that we could go on for days, but I try not to talk too much about my dealings with law enforcement because I don't want them to retaliate on me for getting away with so much crap. But
Everybody does stuff when they're a teenager.
yeah.
I mean, even I have stories of stuff I did. I mean,
Okay, so I knew I was gonna marry you when I got my appendix taken out.
yeah, that was an interesting few days.
By the way, there were 17 people in
Yeah.
the hospital
Mhm.
for me, for having my appendix taken.
Yeah.
Boy, have they changed. Isn't it sad
Both
how
of my
things-
parents showed up for him.
For me, getting my appendix taken out.
Yeah.
17 people. If I could die today and there wouldn't be 17 people at the funeral. We had 17 people in the hospital for me getting my appendix taken out.
Mhm.
I mean, we were really poor, but,
Yeah.
and we're going to get into the stories of our struggles with poverty and all that. I mean, that's kind of, we're getting into how we met and all that.
Yeah.
But, so get into, after I get the appendix taken out, that was 6 months into it.
Yeah.
At that point, I knew I was going to marry you
Mhm.
because I just felt when I went through that, I wanted to, okay, so I refused to go to the hospital.
You refused to go to the hospital, so I ended up calling another one of your cousins,
Yeah.
and they came over.
Forced me to go to the hospital.
We forced him to go to the hospital.
And it was literally so late that they thought I was going to die.
Yeah. Like, they had to give him more. And
I was riding horses.
yeah, he spent the whole night telling me about horses and whatnot.
And Imagine I was 18 years old and I had never been on anything.
Yeah.
And they put me on more because they said that the possibility that I would die on was like very elevated.
Yeah.
Because I was in pain for like 6 days, refusing to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because I would refuse to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So after 6 days, one of my cousins probably saved my life
Yeah.
by forcing me to go to the hospital.
Yeah. Like they were they were trying to tell the hospital that I was the wife. I was like, no, I'm the fiance. I'm like all happy about being the
Okay,
fiance,
so
but yeah.
until this point, my
Yeah.
sister had always been like my mother to me because my mother died and my sister
Yeah.
raised me. So my sister got really ticked at you. Because,
Okay, so do you want to hear about that one?
Yeah.
So he gets out of surgery. He doesn't ask for her, which made her angry. He's like, I want my girlfriend.
Yeah. So my sister, probably from that point on, never liked you
Yeah.
because she realized that she was the one that, like, she literally raised me and took
Yeah.
care of me. And when my sister was like my mother after my mother died.
Yeah.
She took care of me and gave me lunch money. My brothers were jerks. They never helped me. So it was always my sister
Yeah.
who fed me when I was like a teenager and all that. And
Yeah.
my sister was like my mother.
Yeah.
Now, when I got the appendix taken out, she thought that I wanted to see her when I got out of the bed,
Yeah.
and I asked for you.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a little, I don't know, emergency room drama. You can say how that went on.
Yeah, that was in the waiting room. They called and like she picks up the phone and like I could see the like look in her disappointment in her face. They're like, she's like, oh, he didn't want me. He wants you. He asked for you.
Yeah. And at that point, I realized.
And I think that was the day I met her too.
Yeah.
The weird part. Because she was always working.
Yeah, she worked a lot.
Yeah.
And so at this point, when I got my appendix taken out, like 6 months after we met,
Yeah.
it was when I realized that I wanted to be married again.
Yeah.
Because after going through that, thinking I was going to die, you were there for me when I was in the hospital.
I was literally crying, and everyone knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So literally, like, I guess the experience of me going to the hospital
Yeah.
and you taking care of me when I was sick
Yeah.
let me know, like, I'm not going to find anything better than this.
Yeah.
And I mean, recently after my surgery, you took care of me for months.
Yeah.
And I guess I realized when you took care of me when I was sick that was why I wanted, like, I knew then you were going to be my wife. So the years that ensued were difficult. I
Yeah.
ended up working at Applebee's.
Yeah. You worked at Applebee's for like
3 days, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
The most miserable weeks of my life. The trailer, when we moved in, remember all the things that started breaking? Go through all the things. Now, it was inhabitable.
Yeah.
When we moved in, the trailer was inhabitable.
I
Talk
remember.
about all the things that started breaking within like the first year.
Okay, so we started having leakage problems in the kitchen, and since it was old, it had a lot of like hanging wires and stuff like
Mold.
that. Mold. Like we probably have mold toxicity from that house.
So there was
Yeah.
a water heater in the kitchen,
Mhm.
and the water heater had a water leak, and the water leak. Now we're 18 years old.
We don't know nothing about repairs or
Nothing. But
nothing.
there was this water heater that had rotted the entire kitchen, leaking water,
Yeah.
and there was live electricity.
Yeah.
And this was just like the roof started leaking in the second bedroom, which
Yeah.
ruined some of your family heirlooms.
Yeah.
So this trailer starts to leak.
Yeah. There was like it wasn't even a tropical storm. I think it was a tropical
It was a
depression.
tropical depression, and a tree branch fell, and then the roof started leaking.
Yeah. And it never really got fixed. I mean, we had to take apart that kitchen.
So my solution to the leaking
Yeah.
and the mold was just to tear everything out.
Yeah, and that made the second tenant leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to tear out.
First tenant.
So
Yeah.
I can't. Who, was it the male or the female that went first?
The female that left.
The female. So basically, somebody had this woman who was just the devil in person,
Yeah.
and they dumped her on us and said, "Oh, she'll be a good tenant," and she was actually a nightmare.
Yeah.
They basically dumped this like practically homeless woman on us at this point,
Yeah.
and she was really a lot of trouble. She was like psychotic, and
Mhm.
she was like we left her. She lived in the lanai because they have like a lanai.
Yeah, and she also took the second bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we had her as a tenant. That didn't work out. Then we had the homeless rehab male.
Yeah.
Which again, somebody told us, "Oh, here's somebody can go." Like basically, like we had all these people. We were living in this.
And they kept dumping people on us.
People
Yeah.
kept taking advantage of our generosity.
Yeah.
Like now, I look back and I see, okay, all these people that
Mhm.
we had around us were just trying to take advantage of us.
Yeah.
They were like trying to dump people on us. Like
Honest-
we had to, over the years,
Yeah.
we had to kick several people out because they would become tenants and then they wouldn't pay the rent. I don't think we ever collected a dollar from any of them. They were always just like pretending like they were.
Yeah.
They never did.
Honestly, it would have been better for us to just move.
You wanted to move to Tampa.
Yeah. I wanted to move to Tampa in like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, we should have done that.
Yeah.
And so at this point, the mobile home, because of all the leaking, I had to tear out the kitchen,
The
the
bathroom.
walls,
Yeah.
and so now this mobile home is literally like
Yeah.
80. The only thing that was intact was our bedroom in the back.
Yeah.
I had to tear out all the walls because everything had mold on it.
Mhm.
So I tear out all the walls, and you literally, we're living inside of a. You can literally see the aluminum from the inside,
Yeah.
and there's hanging wires because we couldn't cut the wires
Yeah.
because it was aluminum wire. This trailer was built in 1967.
Yep.
So now let's get to the stage of describe the condition of the mobile home we're in.
Like the kitchen had been completely torn out. There was a hole in the floor. The
kitchen.
doors, like something happened with the doors. The doors would just like open randomly.
Yeah, you couldn't because the mobile home. Yeah, you couldn't. The doors sometimes we wake up at night and the front door would be wide open.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
keep
had
describing this, man.
we had just remodeled we added drywall to our bedroom.
Yeah.
And so Jose didn't know how to repair things. He like broke the wall because the water heater was leaking. We got the water heater fixed and he like broke down the shower wall so it just became a bathtub.
So now the shower head broke. So
Yeah.
to shower, we had to shower.
In the bathtub?
Okay, now we never, they sell like the little plastic.
Yeah, we never bought that.
So we would explain how we would clog up the.
Okay, so we would get
It's like late.
we would get catalogs in the mail.
Yes.
And-
Explain how ghetto we were when we were.
Okay, so we would get catalogs in the mail and we'd just use paper to like
We crumple the paper.
crumble the paper
Put it
and
inside of a Walmart grocery bag
yeah,
and stick it in the hole. Explain
stick it in the hole
Explain how
and
you did it. Explain. Talk about it. Bring it up.
yeah, we would take paper, crumple it up, and then we'd stick it in the drain
Yeah.
and start the bathtub. One day when I was taking a bath,
Now you had holes on the floor.
oh yeah, there was holes,
Because
everything.
the floor had rotted.
Yeah. So I was taking a bath. I remember I was really tired. I was just taking a bath. You weren't home. I think you were at your
Okay,
dad's
so
house.
The shower head had broken.
Mhm.
So the only way to shower was to lay down in the tub.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the water heater because the wall's gone.
Yeah.
So you're in this tub with newspapers keeping the water from going down the drain.
Yeah.
you're looking at the water heater because
And at this point,
there was no door.
yeah, there was no
door
door.
to the bathroom.
Yeah.
The door was gone.
The door was gone, and every time I would go to take a bath, a nice relaxing bath, I would get watched by this cat.
A cat would crawl into a hole,
And
stare at you when you shower.
yeah, it would just sit there and stare at you. And the minute when you got out of the bath, like it knew it needed to leave.
So interesting. The cat never watched me shower.
The cat would watch me.
So every time you would go take a shower, a cat would pop into
Yeah.
the house.
And this was always when he would go see his dad. He would go see his dad every day.
Yeah.
And this cat decided that it was just going to watch me.
So, because it never did it to me.
Yeah.
Like, the cat was afraid of me, but the cat didn't fear you because it knew you were too slow, probably.
Probably.
Okay, so talk about the possums.
Okay, so we
The-
would
the-
get...
Every year, what would happen?
We had like, I remember two possums.
No, they were in the front underneath the kitchen.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one came up out of the floor. No, it was before that. That was the second one. The first one, we had come home one night. We had this little dog, Bella. This dog, if it's still alive, is living a great life.
It's in Port Royal.
Yeah.
It was adopted from the hood to Port Royal.
Yeah. So this, like, we come home and we just hear the dog barking. Usually that dog was a jumping dog. Like, you open the front door, that dog is jumping on
I think
you.
it was a Maltese Terrier. What was it?
It was a Shih Tzu Maltese mix.
Yeah, a Maltese Shih Tzu. Okay.
Yeah. And if you open the door, it was just jumping and so excited to see you. And we knew something was off. It was barking and not coming to greet us.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna go investigate this. This is probably not something you want to see because it was in our bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, why don't you go wait outside? So you take care of that situation.
Yeah. And
The dog, from what you tell me, the dog had it cornered.
yeah.
Yeah.
But every single year, because what happens with possums,
And the second time,
so possums,
yeah,
they always, if you get a possum in your house,
yeah,
in your trailer,
yeah.
well, it's not gonna happen in a house, but in a
The
trailer.
second, let me
Okay,
tell the
possums,
story.
if
Yeah,
every single year they keep coming back,
yeah.
and even if you kill like 3 or 4 of them, there's always one that survives, and
Yeah.
they always come back to where they were born.
Okay, so
Every year we have the same problem with the possums.
the second time, I was sitting watching TV. We had it kind of where we had the TV where our old kitchen was, and I hear a rustling, and it just like comes up out of the floor. And then we had a curtain up for the lanai. It runs underneath there because I think we still had dog food because we had just like, the dog was gone at that point, but we still had some of the food. I don't know why. And it came out of the ground, and I'm like, honey, you heard my scream and you knew what it was. So you went and took care of that one.
There was probably about 5 other possum incidents that I didn't tell you about, so you wouldn't be scared.
Really?
Possibly.
Tell me about them.
Just, I never wanted to, if I had caught one or saw one,
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell you about it because I knew you were scared.
Is it outside or inside?
Inside. They would keep coming inside the house
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Because every year, like, once a possum, like, makes a nest,
Yeah.
they keep coming back to the same nest.
After the remodel, did you ever see him?
No, I think at that point, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And I know there was one that snuck into the camper.
yeah. So, any other stories you want to get off your chest today? We're at 54 minutes, try to finish in about an hour.
Is there any notes you want to say?
Okay, talk about picking up scrap metal.
Okay, so I remember when we were dating, you had this truck.
I know where you're going with this already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had this truck and he took me out and it was like an old
1500 Silverado.
old 1500 Silverado. I hated that thing
Why did you hate it?
because I had to sit with my legs up or else I would get like burn marks on my legs.
The
Like
heater core had a hole facing the passenger's legs. So whenever I like accelerated really fast, it would shoot hot water.
yeah.
It would shoot hot water at the passenger.
Yeah.
You like burn your legs.
Can I tell the story of that truck?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you had scrap metal, and you were doing a lot of scrap metal runs. You were looking around and whatnot, and your dad was into it too and whatnot. And I remember everything changed to where it was literally worthless at that time. And I said, hey, you might want to sell that truck. And it became this whole drama situation where Dad didn't want to sell it,
Yeah.
but he ended up selling it in the end.
So yeah, the truck was gonna get me in trouble. I had a good job, and then okay, let's talk about me losing my job.
Okay, so when we got married, I think like 10 days afterward, they fired you.
Me. Now, my workplace told me that if I got married,
You were gonna get fired.
and it was a good job, and it was 2008, we were already in the recession.
Yeah.
There were no jobs.
Yeah, we got married in 2009.
Okay.
Mhm.
So this was already after the recession.
Yep.
There were no jobs.
Yep.
I mean, this was the most difficult time ever.
Yeah.
And they told me that if I married you, they were gonna fire me. And
That wasn't their business or call, but they did it.
yeah. And
Mhm.
this is where things really got tough for us.
Yeah.
So they tell me you're gonna get fired if I married you. We got married. Now, do you remember how the budget for our wedding and everything?
I think the budget for our wedding was like less than $1,000.
Less than 1,000, Katie?
Less than 100. Yeah.
Be real.
Less than
My
$100.
sister bought like cakes. My brother let us do his. It was a backyard
Yeah.
wedding.
Everybody like contributed something.
Yeah.
Like my mom made my flowers. I didn't have a veil. We spent your last paycheck going to Hialeah to get me a wedding dress. I got my wedding dress in Hialeah.
103rd at the David's Brown, 103rd in Hialeah.
Yeah.
Tell them about getting that wedding dress.
Oh my gosh. So I go in and I see this dress and we keep looking and we finally found it. Like, she's giving me the instructions.
Nobody knows English.
Nobody knows English. They're giving me the instructions in Spanish, and I'm just like, what? Jose's standing outside the door saying, suck it in.
It was a beautiful wedding dress.
It was.
It really was. And
Yeah.
so we're in David's Bridal in Hialeah because they told us that's probably the only place
Yeah.
we were going to find like a really affordable wedding dress.
Yeah.
They hooked us up. I don't remember what it cost, maybe $230. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's this thing where the groom's not supposed to see the dress before the wedding.
We didn't have an option.
We didn't have an option. Like my mom was sad that she couldn't go type thing. It was just like, well, we ended up just doing it and getting it out of the way.
10 days after we get married, I come home.
Mhm.
I remember it like that.
Mhm.
Told you we were fired.
Mhm.
And those were difficult times. At least now we know how to make things happen.
Yeah.
Back then, we were 18 years old. We knew nothing.
We knew nothing.
And 18, 19 years old,
We
do you remember some of the things that we did back then? Just so we could have food every day?
were scrapping, and it wasn't worth anything, and you know.
And they didn't give me unemployment. Remember
Yeah, they
lied?
tried not to give him unemployment, but we fought it, and we actually got the unemployment.
Yeah, they lied. They said that I quit my job, and I called. I think it was like an uncle or somebody who told me
Mhm.
that for the hearing,
Yeah.
tell them. I actually during the unemployment hearing,
Mhm.
because they said I quit my job. I'm like, how am I going to quit my job? I just got married.
Yeah.
During the unemployment hearing, I
Mhm.
walked into the business.
Mhm.
After I walked into the business
Yeah.
on the phone with the unemployment people.
Yeah.
And told them I'm here right now wearing my uniform. I'm here at work. I'm not quitting my job
Mhm.
because they lied and said, which means we didn't get unemployment for a while. Do you remember some of the things we did during that time period? How we would eat. We had a Mercedes Benz.
Yeah. And we were collecting scrap metal in the Mercedes Benz.
Yeah. You remember what type of scrap metal we were collecting?
Copper. I remember one time we
Beer
had
cans.
beer cans.
We would go in the woods.
Yeah.
We would go in the woods. Let me refresh your memory if you don't remember. You probably
Yeah.
don't remember. We would go in the woods into homeless camps
Yeah.
to pick up beer cans in homeless camps to load up 6 large garbage bags.
So that we could get $30.
30?
20.
$13, Katie.
$13.
$13. 9 of it was gas.
Yeah.
8 or 9 of it was gas
Yep.
because the scrapper was way in Naples.
Yeah.
And the other one was to buy one pizza from Hungry Howie's
Yeah.
that we would split, and that was our only meal for the day.
Yeah.
For weeks. I would go in the woods and pick up beer cans in homeless camps so that we would have food.
Yeah.
You remember one night all we had was like an egg or a piece of fish or something?
Yeah. We had to go fishing. You had to go fishing. You're like, we're not gonna make money. I'm not finding anything. I'm just gonna go fishing. And for a few weeks, you went fishing every single day, and you would catch fish, and whatever you caught, we would just eat. We ate a lot of catfish.